If you've ever wondered what faith looks like when it falls in love, listen to Fatemeh. Salam, dear GreenPalm readers. The love story of Fatemeh and Hamid began quietly in a modest neighborhood in Iran. They had known each other for years. Their families were close, and Hamid was always present, always kind, always serious. But to Fatemeh, he was just Hamid Agha, like an older brother, familiar and distant. Never once did she imagine he would one day ask for her hand in marriage. Not until that quiet phone call, not until he sat across from her, calm and composed, and said the words she never expected to hear. Hamid was absolutely the last person I could ever imagine marrying. Then one day, he called our house and asked to speak with me. Phone conversations with him were usual, but this call felt different. The Islamic revolution was in its early days, and Hamid had become a pastor. My initial thought was that he might have seen my name on a list associated with a political group and wanted to ask me about my activities. Later, however, I suspected he might have a different reason for calling. Perhaps he needed my help in proposing to one of my classmates. I met him at his sister's house. He appeared quite neat, sitting politely in front of me. With a seriousness that I hadn't seen before, he said, "I want to ask for your hand in marriage." A laugh erupted from me before I could stop it. Here was Hamid Bakeri, ever the quiet man, simple, to the point. Me, I was a whirlwind of words, bold and brash. I appreciated his audacity. Then it hit me. He was serious. I excused myself, saying, "Hamid Agha, I must go now. I'll be back." After leaving the house, I headed towards the students' dormitory, which was conveniently located right in front of their home. Anyone I spoke to about the issue was very surprised. It seemed that we were not cut from the same cloth, yet everyone adored him. The girls kept asking, "Fatemeh, what is your answer?" "Of course my answer is no. Hamid is like a brother to me," I replied. "Are you sure?" I wasn't sure. When my mother found out, she said to me, "Wow, Fatemeh, Hamid is a really nice guy." A week had passed, and I pondered to myself that we were not on the same page when it came to certain political issues. I decided that I would express my disagreement with some of his political views, hoping it would bring closure to the matter. But my actions did not yield the desired outcome. The weather was cold, and we found ourselves outside on campus. He persisted in talking for a long time. I managed to listen to only half of what he said, while the other half remained incomprehensible to me. He was incredibly serious. He had even brought along some notes on which he had written down the qualities he was looking for from his future wife, whether it was me or someone else. His other notes were about himself. Before departing for Germany, he had meticulously listed all of his positives and negative attributes. He explained that he had done this to ensure that upon arriving in Germany, he wouldn't lose sight of his identity and the reasons for his journey. "Look, Fatemeh," he said, "the crucial factor here is that we both embrace Islam and base our lives on its principles. Everything else merely represents opinions, and opinions are shaped by reality, not truth. The reality we face is ever-changing, so if we acknowledge the truth, we can navigate through these changing realities one way or another." After our conversation, I continued to contemplate. At that stage of my life, I had a firm outlook on religion, and I found myself thinking, I need to find a religious justification for rejecting Hamid. That way, when I'm questioned on the day of judgment about why I turned him down, I can defend my decision. Yet, I couldn't come up with such an excuse. Then I reasoned that he shouldn't have raised the issue in the first place. But now that he has, I must provide him with a direct response. From a hesitant yes to unspoken strength, their love quietly learned how to endure. Hamid was wounded. Fatemeh was expecting their first child. Their days were filled with hard times and separation, but their love held firm. It wasn't just sacrifice. It was a kind of sacred strength, the kind that chooses love again and again, even in the hardest moments. I can vividly recall my sister-in-law rushing to me and saying, "Fatemeh, I have to tell you something. Please do not panic." "What is it?" I asked. "Hamid is here, but he's been wounded." Strangely, my face lit up with joy and I said, "How good? Where? His leg? That would be better. He wouldn't be able to leave the house anymore." Like a child, she crawled to his bedside and exclaimed, "Oh, Hamid, I'm so glad you are wounded." Caught up in her own joy, she did not realize how insensitive her words were. Hamid frowned, trying hard to hide the pain and laughter mixed together behind his lips. Please be mindful of your words. Instead say, "Oh Allah, if you are content with Hamid's injury, then I am content with it too. The same goes if he becomes a martyr," he gently reprimanded. Her eyes lit up and she exclaimed, "Come on, Hamid, it is good that you are wounded, and now you will spend a month with me." That night, Hamid's fever spiked to such an extent that I had to carry him to the hospital myself. Afshar Hospital was nearby. When the nurse came to change the dressing on his wound, Hamid turned to me and said, "Do not look. Turn away your head." Even in that challenging moment, he was considerate, thinking I might be distressed by the sight of his injury. They applied a cast to his leg and said that he needed to undergo surgery in Tehran. Although it was just a small piece of shrapnel, it had struck his knee and caused him severe pain. "You must go to Urumiyeh," he told me. No matter how much I begged him to allow me to go with him, he did not agree. He sent me, accompanied by one of our friends, to Urumiyeh. 2 weeks later, he was also transferred to Urumiyeh. A few days later, when I was going to the hospital to deliver the baby, I told him, "Forgive me for all of the things that I have done. I might not come back." He came closer to me, whispered a short prayer in my ear and kissed me. "Hamid, please, we are in public," I exclaimed. He took a quick glance at our surroundings and replied, "What's wrong with that? What matters is the intention, and mine is pure." When he was gone, she kept him alive through stories, polished boots, gentle eyes, and a patient smile. After his martyrdom, memories became her only language. Through those memories, Fatemeh told their children who their father truly was. "You don't remember," Fatemeh said to her children. Back then, it was common for religious people to wear messy and wrinkled clothes, often with scruffy hair, showing a lack of concern for worldly things. But this stereotype didn't apply to Hamid. He stood out as a handsome figure, always impeccably groomed, with neatly polished boots, well-combed hair, and a tall, imposing stature. To me, he was the most handsome husband in the world. I used to trim his hair and beard, but I always ended up messing them up. Luckily, his curly, wavy hair hid the mistakes, so it was never noticeable. He never complained about it, and instead would look in the mirror, run his hands through his hair and say, "You're the best hairdresser in the world." Asiya chuckled and said, "It seems like Dad was a fibber." Her eyes narrowed at the corners as she grinned, just like her father. Fatemeh reached out and playfully pinched her daughter's nose and said, "Even if he was a fibber, women don't dislike that kind of fib. If you ever meet someone like your father, my advice to you is to marry him without hesitation, even if he occasionally fibs." I really meant it when I asked Asiya to do so. I'm straightforward and outspoken, unlike Hamid, who was shy and reserved. You can see it on his face in his pictures. Whenever I looked at him, I would feel sympathy for him for no apparent reason. Some flames never fade. They burn quietly, not in the open, but in the corners of memory, in the soft voice of a mother remembering, and in the silent wonder of a child listening. Love rooted in God doesn't end with death. It deepens, it echoes. Hamid is gone, yes, but in her words, he's still brushing curls from her daughter's forehead. She lost him once, but she never truly let go. She kept him in memories, in faded photos, in every whispered prayer under trembling breath. And every time she speaks his name, Hamid walks through the door again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to keep walking through the stories of love, loss, and faith, watch these two videos from the Unwithering Flames series right here.